Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episode 5 of Chainsaw Man. So, last time we had kind of the resolution with all this stuff with Power. We saved her and Meowie from Batty and then killed the Leech Devil as well, thanks to Aki and his Fox Devil. And at the very end, Power, after having moved in with Aki and Denji and being a nuisance, does offer to keep her end of the deal and let Denji touch the titty. Because my boy deserves it. After everything he did, and it was part of the deal, she agreed to it, and as long as it's consensual, that's what matters. But there's some things to definitely talk about there. And just going into this, there's some things I want to discuss with this. First off, at Youmacon this past weekend, there was a pretty damn large presence for Chainsaw Man. While there were surprisingly, to my knowledge, no panels specifically dedicated to it, there was a lot of cosplayers there that were dressed up as Denji, as Power, as Makima, as Aki, and even other characters who are in the opening and all, but haven't appeared yet. And a couple and those other Devil Hunters who were with Aki last episode, who we just barely saw any of. They were there were cosplays for them as well. But yeah, there was a lot of that. So like, if you go watch my cosplay music video from Youmacon that I posted earlier this week, you'll be able to see all, at least all the ones that I got video of. There were a lot more than just them. But yeah, there were a lot of them. And for every character, every like major character we've seen too, outside of like the devils, like there were no Bat Devils that I saw. But of every major like actual character, like yeah, there were a lot of them, each of them. And it's good to see that all of the different characters are getting love. Power, Denji, Makima, Aki, all of them are getting a lot of love. And that's really good to see. But that kind of goes into my next thing I want to talk about real quick before we get this started. I tried to show my sister the first episode of this. And she made a statement in response that I was not expecting, and that really threw me off. And I respected her wishes, of course. I didn't try to force her to watch this series or anything, but she told me that she doesn't want to see it. She has negative interest in it because she heard about the main character being perverted and stuff. And she made the comparison with like other characters like Sanji or Mineta and how she hates those kind of characters. And she says like she couldn't watch a series where the main character is like that. And it baffled me because it's like, is someone telling her lies? Because Denji is nothing like Sanji or Mineta. And I've already made a big point of defending Denji in like a comment, I believe. But the big thing with Denji is that he's horny but not perverted. He's not a pervert. He's not gross. He's not disrespectful or anything. He's just a horny teenager. And a lot of the reason why he's like this is because of how he grew up. He grew up without parents for much of his life. And the father he had left him in such insane debt that he had to be put to work killing devils from childhood in order to avoid being violently murdered by the Yakuza himself, just so he could pay off the debt his father had. He grew up having to sell body parts and organs to survive, having no real home, with no real food, no real friends, and the only people around him that he had any real interaction with was the Yakuza members, who didn't give a shit for him. The only thing close to a friend he had was Pochita. But Pochita's not human, therefore he got no real human interaction there. And as such, his ability to interact with people is stunted at best and completely fucked at worst. He doesn't know how to act around other people, and that's been made very clear with his interactions with Makima and Aki and even Power, even though she's technically not human and everything. But the point still stands that he doesn't have any real sense of social interaction or concepts of right and wrong or all of that stuff. And Aki even basically mentioned that last episode. It's like he doesn't understand. He never went to school or anything. So it's like he doesn't understand that what he's doing, but when he's constantly talking about his dream being, you know, to touch boobs and stuff, he doesn't understand that that's a little weird. And again, as I've also stated, he's not trying to do this without permission or anything. He's trying to earn the consent for it. He's not going to touch someone's boobs without consent. And that makes him exceptionally different from characters like Sanji or Mineta. Sanji, who will actively choose to spy on women in a bath, and who was very much touching himself when he was in Nami's body, thanks to Law's abilities. And then you have Mineta, who is a serial sexual assaulter. And I'm not going to get into all of that again here because I've ranted about him enough. But yeah, it's like he's not even slightly comparable. Again, he's not perverted. He's just a horny, stupid teenager who literally doesn't have the intelligence or education because of his upbringing to understand the ideas of whether or not he's being a little weird and unsettling and creepy or not. And that's not his fault. And it really bothers me that there'd be people who are like trying to paint him as just another one of those pervy characters who are like that. And it's like, he's not. It makes no sense to me. And part of it, yes, is because I feel like really bad for him, and I sympathize greatly for his character, for everything he's gone through. But it's like, it just makes no sense to me. But I would definitely say that your opinions can obviously be different, and your views on it can be different. I just don't have, I don't have to, like, understand that necessarily. I can still have my own views and opinions on it all. So, yeah. Either way, I'm really excited to see more of this nonetheless. I have, like I've said before, no clue what's going to happen next. And, again, outside of a couple out-of-context things I know going forward, I don't really know much of anything. So I'm excited to see more. And luckily I didn't get spoiled at Youmacon. So that's very nice too. Either way, we're just going to get right into this and hope for the best. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Booba achieved! Denji has touched the booba. He has finally done it, and for multiple girls, actually. He got to touch Power's booba 3 times, and he got a little touchy of Makima as well. And we see kind of what I expected. He After touching Power's breasts, he's kind of thrown off by the fact that it just doesn't feel like anything special. And when he tells this to Makima and everything, and she, gets really intense with him, um, like, I'm watching this and like, Jesus, you're gonna make this dude cream, like the way you're, like, I'd even, I wouldn't call that flirting because I feel like that's a lot for even flirting. Jesus. Um, but yeah, she gets him to, I guess, feel the idea of like if you have more of a connection and whatnot, it can mean more. And again, as I stated, this is not always the case. Some people get a lot of sexual pleasure having sex with people they've never met before. It does happen. But there are a lot who prefer or get more pleasure out of having sex or sexual interaction in some way with a person who they are better connected with, whether it be a partner or just someone they have had multiple sexual encounters with, or something in that vein, someone that they're comfortable enough with already. And again, it's a different experience for different people. um I've never had like sex myself, like full on. I have touched breasts before. um I've touched more than that before, but that's about all I've done. I've never actually had sex or like done anything further than that. I would still consider myself a virgin. I don't consider touching briefly to be much of anything. So yeah. Um, but it's more of the point in this that Denji had built this up so heavily in his head. It was his big dream, but even beyond that, it was just something that had been such a huge focus to him that it became kind of his entire like motivation. It's all that was on his mind. And so when he finally got to achieve that goal, he had such mighty expectations built up in his head. Nothing was going to live up to that. He was so invested in doing this that it actually ruined the experience for him. Of course, Power also teasing him by like moaning and shit while he was doing it didn't help. Also, the fact that when he did the first squeeze, she had the fillers in. Though obviously nothing wrong with having fillers or whatnot. I use them myself because being trans, I don't have like being trans and not being on HRT, I should say, I don't have like real like notable breasts myself. Though I really wish I did. I would really love that. That would definitely be a dream of mine. That's my dream. I don't want to touch tits. I want to have tits. Though I mean, I wouldn't mind touching tits either. Again, I've done it before, and it's like it's nice. There is an appeal to it, yes. But again, like I said, with Denji, it's definitely because he built it up. And the reason why touching Makima's breasts did so much to him by comparison isn't just because he has more interest in Makima, although that is true. It's also because of the way she was teasing him beforehand. The insanely sexual flirting she was doing. Like, Jesus fuck, lady. It's like, I'm not even that into her, and I'm getting feelings there watching that scene. Like, Jesus. I still don't trust her, and actually this makes me trust her even less because it feels like she's entirely manipulating him to get what she wants. Which, honestly, it's very blatant that's what she's doing. Because she wants this gun devil dead. So we kind of got a little hint about this before with the fact that they were wondering if there was any gun flesh inside the bat devil. And with what we had heard about the names and everything, and people being more afraid of certain things, that corresponding devil is going to be stronger. It's like, obviously you think about it, it's like, okay, so we have a chainsaw devil. He's pretty strong because chainsaws are intimidating and whatnot. So obviously your thought's going to be, okay, what about other weapons like a fucking gun? And then in this also, it's like, oh, by the way, the gun devil first appeared in America. Of fucking course it did. Because America and its fucking guns. This country and especially the conservative people here are so fucking obsessed with their guns. It is just like, of fucking course it appeared in America. And on top of that, there are so many people here who are afraid because of all of those people who are obsessed with their guns. So many of us here in America are absolutely shit-faced scared of all of this gun-loving lunacy in this country. And so, of course, a gun devil appeared first in America. Like, no fucking shit. Especially after a terrorist attack. Like, yeah, that just makes sense. And then we find out after it appeared, it moves so fast that it, like, just bulleted through, and eventually also made its way to where Aki was at the time. I don't actually know where they were supposed to be at that moment. If they were in America or if they were even still in Japan. But, bulleted completely through the house, killing all of Aki's family, including his little brother, who he had just sent back into there to get gloves. And so, yeah, on top of the trauma of having your family like killed right in front of your face, oh, also there's going to be the trauma from the guilt he feels about sending his little brother in there right before he died. Jesus fuck. Like, my fucking God, I feel so bad for this man. Like, Aki needs a fucking hug. Like, Aki legitimately needs a real, genuine, warm fucking hug. Like, this dude, he's got so much pain in his past. And it's like, I very much understand why he hates devils so much. And Jesus. And on top of that, we also find out he's not the fucking only one, because Himeno does as well. Himeno had, 6 partners before him? And all of them died? And while injured and visiting the grave of presumably the most recent one, she's just assigned a new partner right there, who happens to be Aki, by the way. And it's like, Jesus. I don't know if this was the author's intention with this, but making these characters, like, introducing us to them, and then making them have the most sympathetic, most heartbreaking, most horrifying backstories. It's like, are you taking a page out of Oda's book on how to make us like characters? Because it's like, this is how you fucking make us like characters. By making them sympathetic as hell, by making them tragic as hell. This is a very easy, some would say cheap, way to get a character to be liked. Oda does this a lot with One Piece. Oda does this a lot with One Piece. And not only with our main characters, too, even with side characters like Senior Pink. And it's like, now apparently the author of Chainsaw Man is doing this, or has done this, and it's just like, Jesus. it's like I already super heavily sympathized with Denji and cared so much for him because of his backstory. Um, Power was made insanely likable with her backstory and with her love for Meowie, and now you're doing it with Aki too, and it's just like, come on, and Himeno, and what's next? Kobeni and the guy as well. Are you gonna give them sad backstories and make me love them too? Because I would very much welcome that. Please do, please. Some people would say that this is cheap. Some people would say it's very cheap to just give all your characters sad backstories. It's like, oh, you're just gonna give them trauma and everything to make them more likable. It's cheap. It's easy. It doesn't feel as earned. And it's like, well, one, it does feel earned because it's like people go through shit in real life. People have gone through a lot of horrible, tragic shit in real life. A lot more often than we will give credit for, honestly. Like, it's a lot more common than we like to believe or think. And traumas can manifest in so many different ways. It's not just losing family. It's not just losing friends and partners. Trauma can be all kinds of things. It's a very diverse concept. It's a very diverse concept. And no one's trauma should be minimized because it doesn't live up to someone else's. Denji's trauma and Power's trauma are very different. And their traumas are very different from Aki's trauma, which is very different from Himeno's. Their traumas are all very different. And you shouldn't, like, mistreat or belittle someone because their traumas aren't as seemingly heavy as yours. And the same goes for dreams, obviously, like was kind of brought up with Denji's dream before. It's like, don't knock on someone's dream because it's not as high and lofty as your own. Just, be a good person. That's kind of what it comes down to. Don't be a piece of shit. Treat people like people. And stop, like, belittling them because they're not, like, living up to your lofty expectations of anything. But it's like, seriously, all these characters are, like, just really quickly becoming likable. And it's not just because of their trauma. It's their personalities and everything as well. Power is exceptionally likable in terms of personality. She's fun, she's quirky, she's ridiculous as fuck. She's also really gross and weird and just kind of a dipshit. But it's like, it's kind of endearing in a weird way. Himeno is kind of has a sassy side to her. She's very confident and to the point as well. And her power, by the way, her contract, like she has this contract with the Ghost Devil and has a ghost arm now. That's fucking badass. Like, come on, that's awesome. That is a really awesome power. And it's like, it's also really good for stealth. Because a lot of enemies will not see that coming. But yeah, that's a really cool one. We don't know what the others do yet. Kobeni is very timid and nervous constantly, it seems, and that's always super cute to me. I've always liked that trope in a lot of anime characters and all, when they're just like super cutesy and nervous, and maybe it's because I relate to it. Because I'm pretty nervous and timid in real life, so it's like I see characters like that, and it's like, oh, you're like me, and it's like, I kind of almost break out of my own timidness when I see characters like that, because it's like I want to protect them, I want to protect them because I feel like I would want to be protected myself in that situation. So it's like, I kind of have that just instant feeling of kind of like this mama bear energy taking over, which is weird for me because it's like outside of like those kind of moments, I don't feel I'm not a mama bear type of person normally. But it's like when it comes to those type of characters who are just again similar to me in terms of that, it's just like my instincts just like run into overdrive. And we don't know like too much about the guy. We know he seems pretty serious and the, like not in the same way as Aki, where Aki is like clearly just like done with everything at this point. This guy is just like he's trying to stay on task and he's not really good at it. But he's trying to be serious. He's trying to, like be the model devil hunter basically. Sorry for the lighting, by the way. It's that time because of daylight savings time fucking things up and all. But yeah, and just this feels like it's starting to really like push this into at least the first major villain with this gun devil. This is definitely building up to some really big things here. And this ending bit with the revelation of that the space around them is being distorted. So no matter if they climb up the stairs or climb down the stairs, while to them it looks like they're just normally climbing the stairs up or down, they appear on the same floor. They can't escape floor 8 at this point. It's some kind of space manipulation, and it's really fucking interesting. I've always been into that kind of shit. It's really cool. It's just a really cool kind of concept. So I'm really, really loving this. Like I love that it touched on the fact, pun intended, that Denji touching boobs ended up being not really a disappointment per se to him, but just not living up to his expectations, and then the adjustment of his goal and everything in regards to Makima and how she handled it when talking to him. It's like I really actually like how that was handled. I felt it still adhered to the the comedic side of the joke of him wanting to touch titties, but it also added an entirely new layer to it and allowed for some growth in terms of it, as well as what is very clearly Makima continuing to manipulate Denji. This time by offering him just straight up fucking. Like she without saying the words, she practically told him, "You kill this gun devil for me, I will fuck your brains out. I will ride that dick till the sun rises." It's like, Jesus, I feel so bad for this dude. He is being manipulated so heavily here, and it's like he doesn't even know that. He doesn't know it. Because he's dumb. And I don't mean that in a bad sense. He's legitimately dumb. He never went to school or anything. He genuinely did not have a proper upbringing. He's an idiot. And again, not out of any way to like be mean about it or anything. He just is. He's so easy to manipulate, and Makima has him wrapped around her finger. And I'm still convinced she's a bad guy, and I'm still convinced she's a devil. All the signs are there. And it's definitely not like a gun devil or a chainsaw devil. It's gotta be something more of a concept than a weapon or something. Like the way she's manipulating him, maybe she's a manipulation devil or something like that. It's just something within that wheelhouse. It has to be. All the signs are there. They're so blatant. They're so blatant about it. It's like it's not hiding anything. The opening doesn't fucking hide anything. The opening is practically telling us to our faces that she is the bad guy. For all we know, this gun devil might not even be a bad guy after all. For all we know, this gun devil might not even exist. That would be a twist. That she's lying and this is all stupid, insane manipulation of some sort. I don't know. I'm just going based on what I've seen in these episodes, because I don't have any other context. Again, I know a couple very small, out of context things, but they have nothing to do with Makima, I think, at least. Again, I won't say what they are right now, just because I don't want to spoil anyone who might be watching along with me. But it's basically like maybe two small things that I know of. I don't know exactly. I'd have to. I know one for sure, right? Like one for absolute certain. And I did know Kobeni's name, and had heard maybe a tiny bit about her, but it's like that was just about her like being like more timid than the others. I didn't really know to what degree that was or whatnot. But yeah, I'm trying to avoid all spoilers as always. Trying to avoid anything that even looks like a spoiler. And just continuing on as normal. Whether I'm proven wrong or not, I'm still going to enjoy the shit out of this series. And Jesus, fuck that light. Like, look at the way it's coming in. Like, look on the screen. It looks like this just big block of light. Like, it's so square. Like, you can trace along, I'm trying to, it's really hard to do this on a camera, but you can kind of trace along, like, the line here. Like, you see it down there? Trace along the line of where the light's shining in through the window. And it's like, Jesus. I apologize for that. But, either way, like, look at this. Look, like, you can only see, like, half my face right now. But either way, we're just gonna end this here. I was gonna end it here anyway. Tell me your thoughts down in the comments below on this episode of Chainsaw Man. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.